So to start off, I wanted to say that with Scanco, our new product that launched in 2013, our Scanco Warehouse product, revolutionized the way that we look at barcoding with Sage 100 and warehouse management. And in 2014, we had our largest amount of new customers adopting our software. We have our software packages and warehouse management suite installed in more warehouses than we ever have. And due to the success of that, we started to look into what types of things were our customers asking for, what did they need, what was working well for them, and what were areas we could improve. And so one of those topics is in regards to the size and the caliber of the types of warehouses that our customers were in. And a lot of the .com companies and those large warehouse and enterprise-based warehouse solutions in the mid-market and high markets have a lot of technology that give them a competitive advantage over the small businesses that we serve in the Sage 100 market. A lot of these types of things include, you may have seen, like Amazon with warehouse robotics, knowing where everything is in the warehouse as far as locations, and these advanced, sophisticated warehouse management solutions that were all-inclusive, oftentimes took 8 months or more to implement and were over $100,000. So between all these markets and these large cap companies down to the medium, we saw an opportunity for us to create a product that allowed our Sage 100 partners to be able to use and really make them competitive with some of these larger solutions. And so our answer to this was creating our enterprise edition of Scanco Warehouse. This allowing us to give them the functionality of the enterprise-based solutions without the cost. And this is all while staying true to our quick install integrated solution, giving customers functionality that is available only in some of those high-cost solutions that I discussed before. We're very excited about this for a lot of reasons, and there's features and feature sets that I'll be showing here on this demo, and just to give you kind of an idea of what's possible. Now, a few of these are that we are retaining our cross-platform functionality. We're able to run on Android devices, iOS, and Windows Mobile. Our advanced shipping suite is included in with the Scanco Enterprise Edition, allowing users to perform wave, order picking, invoice picking, directed shipping, quick picks, and confirm picks. And we'll talk more about those at length. Also, being able to receive RMAs on the handheld, automatic updating, warehouse reporting, having an enterprise dashboard to give the warehouse users functionality to be able to assign orders and give them a view of what's going on inside of the warehouse, automating bin locations through third-party add-ons, and our partner ACS, which will be discussing their multi-bin solution at length. Also, other options like printing ASN labels directly to the handheld, and also being able to print barcode labels wirelessly as well. So with that, I'm going to allow Ron to talk a little bit about his solution.
All right, thank you, Devin. My name is Ron Chomp, and we really appreciate you coming today. That was a wonderful introduction, Devin. To go along with that theory, you know, ACS always strives to improve solutions for the Sage 100 software. That's all what we work on here. And so I'm excited to demonstrate today some of the newer features in Sage 100 multi-bin warehouse management. There are a number of software applications that we've added to the system in the last year, namely directed put away and replenishments. I'll touch on that just a little bit, but for directed picking, there are a few new options that you might be interested in seeing. And then there's the new lot serial traceability inquiry. You know, the basis of our solution is to just enhance your and as you know, is to enhance the Sage 100 look and feel, and as well as give you the enterprise features, so you don't have the big budget to implement. as well as to implement our solution, it's negligible, really. To start off with, I have the inventory maintenance screen here to talk about a few things, and I just want to give a few basic concepts, and it might be a reminder for some, but I promise to enhance discussions on the new features here. So looking at this screen today, you see here on Multibin warehouse management locations here. You can see my inventories and different bin locations here. We have location types and regions. We use location types to enhance the way that we can pick through the warehouse. You know, if the system is going to advise where to pick your inventory, it's got to be accurate, or else it's useless or it's going to be a waste of your time. If I could pop this graphic up here. You know, you might have your receiving dock where inventory comes in, shipping dock where goods go out, and you might have inventory in the proximity of the shipping dock, or you might have goods that are in the back shelves, like in the overflow section, if you can see in the upper right area. You might have primary pick locations, what we call primary pick locations. Now, there's two types today, and that's one of the newer features. You know, historically, primary pick locations were all about items associated to a bin locations, and that's still consistent today. But we also offer a primary pick area or zone per se. So if I had a section of dedicated to those high volume goods down in the near the shipping dock, much like you're seeing here for floor and this shipping area over here and kitting, then the system recognizes that and those locations, then it can replenish, keep up inventory in those locations and optimize picking. So once again, you know, there might be locations that are up high, out of reach, where you don't want your pickers to go there unless desperation, or maybe you want a separate pick sheet because you want to have a forklift driver to get those goods. You know, so hopefully you get the idea from there. We're all about improving the pick process when you can make use of it. Honestly, you know, to make use of directed picking, it does take a good inventory. You know, so we're designed to be simple, as you might know, and so you can start off by putting your available inventory on the pick sheet, selecting inventory, and then shipping those, and we'll talk about that. But then with directed picking, obviously the system can optimize the best goods to pick from the best areas, and so on. So back to our screen here. The way we achieve that objective is utilizing these location types and then regions, which is nothing more than zones in the warehouse. And if I could take liberty here of pulling up a simple bin location here, and you could see that a region, which is a zone, is just associated to a bin location. And then we have these location types, which I'll enhance the discussion here in a second. So it's very easy to set up this information. 9 times out of 10, a location is going to be ordinary pick location, but for overflow, perhaps that is back stock or inventory that's not regularly picked or up high, and I'll talk about those things too. So back to item maintenance here, you can see the setup here has the location types. I have 2 locations in the primary pick locations. Now we have a new option in options, and this is called Autoassign primary bin locations. So what you do with that is in bin location maintenance, you can now designate a location as a primary bin location. So this will be your primary bin location zone. So with that option on, then the system will know that that when inventory goes into that location, it will be automatically considered as a primary one. For those that know, the setup for primary bin locations is traditionally in here. With that automatic option on, it will automatically complete this information of knowing that primary bin locations. So many users historically have put this information in manually. That information stays in. When you have the automatic option on, and it's in one of those primary pick zones, it says, well, if there's no inventory in there, take it out. But if there is an inventory, put it in. And that way the system can intelligently know where your primary pick locations are. So another option is the overflow option to get case packs out of the overflow section of your warehouse. Now, as you know, we have the license plate product for pallets, and we'll talk about that, of course. But if you don't have that, and yet you just have case packs in the back, and you want to be able to auto-allocate those separate from your eaches in the front area, we have a new field here. And I can put in a number such as 10 in here. And so whenever I have a quantity on the sales order that's greater than 10, it will get that quantity out of the overflow area and allocate it in increments of 10. I know I'm moving a little fast there, but since I was on this screen, I thought I'd mention that new option. Now, the other option that we've had for overflow, and this has always been here, just sort of FYI, this is auto-allocating out of the overflow area if you had a large order. In this case, I had 500 here. That's still there. But in the case of case packs and you don't want to use license plate, this is a quick and dirty way of getting case packs automatically for yourself. So what I'd like to do is pull up a sales order here. And another new option that we've included in the system, and you've probably noticed it now, is this allocated quantity. So in directed picking, where the system's allocating the inventory for you, it's going to reflect that quantity that's reserved for the order on this screen. And I'm going to change this here. So in my case, try that one more time. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to auto-allocate the inventory as I print the pick sheet. And it's looking at the options in the system. So it's looking at the setup that I have between the location types, the sort that I have for the locations, and the sort for the regions and the zones in the warehouse. And I'm able to produce right in the normal Sage 100 pick sheets a good pick sheet that will optimize the pick flow going through the warehouse. I like to say that, you know, if I can pull up this graphic, if you're going down this way or going up this way, you can design it to pick left and right if you choose to, and so on. But that's all built into the software, the ability to do these wave pick sheets. And then to pull that order back up, now you can see the allocated quantity, and I just want to make sure you saw that. Another new feature that we have with the software is the ability to have an audit trail when the system allocates inventory for you. In this case, I allocated quantity of 30 of this one item. And if I were to click on this detail button, you can see that I auto-allocated that inventory from the pick sheet. So this way, you know what the system's reserving, what was actually picked, perhaps with the handheld, and then subsequently invoiced. And sometimes that's important. You also know how it was allocated on the order. So we were able to achieve that setup, or those allocations, by having a good setup in the system. And as I showed earlier in the bin location setup, the location types that make sense. So I can have location types which are regular pick locations, primary pick locations, which I already discussed. I might have overflow locations, which is down here, which may be up high or in the back. I might have other locations, and then staging locations, which are notoriously like the receiving dock and shipping dock. Now, what we do here is we give you today the option to whether or not you want to pick out of these locations, period. Some businesses don't want to pick out of staging locations. Maybe they're like work in process. You produce goods into those those locations that you're not keeping track of the total quantity, but they're staging locations for quality control and so on. And I can also establish a priority pick along with that. So another new feature that we've included today is the ability to allocate out of floor locations. If I can pull up that graphic one last time, for example, if I had a floor area and I needed to sell or ship a lot of the same item, perhaps on the fly I can put pallets of goods in this floor location. And with that first option on over here, then the system knows, hey, to supersede my primary pick locations and regular pick locations algorithms. And of course, just for your information, all these settings can be set here company-wide, excuse me, override them by product line in Sage 100, and then item maintenance, so you have 100% control on these settings on how you want the system to calculate the best goods out of the best locations so you can get out those goods. Okay, so the other part of this, of what I was demonstrating, was the wave pick sheet. Consistent now today in our system is wave pick sheets. We include this today for both directed picking and directed put away. If I were to pull up the new dashboard for directed put away, I can calculate the kind of put away or replenishment that I want to do. In this case, I want to do primary location replenishment. And what I'm doing here now is I'm selecting the warehouse, the from and to. Now there are default options set here, and you can override them, and it's really changing the selection criteria and so on. But by calculating this, now the system can advise how to replenish my primary bin locations. So as you recall, I was looking at that at the setup of the locations, and we had the min-max settings. So here it's advising how I should replenish those primary bin locations to keep them up to stock as you wish to do that. Now you can override this information, whether it be different locations, quantities. You can even save it if you like the kind of transfer. Perhaps you're replenishing other kind of locations, whether it be for manufacturing in certain zones in your warehouse. You want to keep your inventory up. But anyway, after calculating here, I can review a log. And the log will tell me a little bit of information on how well it's doing in replenishing those locations, exceptions that I may want to notate. Perhaps there's missing setup or insufficient inventory to replenish. But as I promised before, consistent today is now wave pick sheets in the system. We do it for both picking and put away of goods. So right now I clicked on the wave pick sheet. And so when I'm replenishing primary bin locations, I'm traditionally taking inventory out of my back stock, overflow areas, what have you, as desired, and it's giving me the optimum way to pick those goods here on the left-hand side. And it's still suggesting where I can put those goods away, but now we also offer a directed put away sheet. So we can do this in 2 swoops if desired, and where you can pick the goods and then put them away. And this is an optimal way to put the goods away here. If you're using the RF handheld, obviously you can scan these in and transfer the goods real time right into the system. We also provide a transfer button right here. You can do it two ways. You know, with our quick transfers, immediate transfer in the warehouse, and then, or you can generate it into transaction entry and transfer it that way. So that's on replenishing primary bin locations because you're maintaining certain levels of stock. This is a primary or directed put away from a staging location. So staging locations we set up by warehouse, and that way, and right in warehouse code maintenance too, I can have a staging location for production, for whether it's I produce goods for quality control or I just receive goods. And in this case, I'm going to calculate a directed put away from my receiving dock. And you can see here repetitively, here we have receiving bin location, but this is the advice that it's providing in order to restock my bin locations. Now, it's going to put inventory into the places that I have set up in the system. With the, I have preferences, for example, in certain zones in warehouse where I want to store items and product lines, and we have the ability to track how full locations are. And you see a little of that over here on the right-hand side. And we're trying to give you information here on what was the logic in the system in order to put the goods away. So maybe it's the nearest aisle, as you see in the first one. Or this one made it to a primary pick location. That could be because you had a setting where you wanted to receive goods in, put it into a primary pick location, but you didn't have other inventory to rotate in. But that's an option of whether or not you want to do that. To save time on line number 3, it says it needs to ship back orders for 21. So it's advising just to go ahead and put the inventory into the shipping dock, and so on. This last one down here, it's advising to put goods into this staging location for the sales order, and what we can do is transfer goods into that location just for the sales order, and you can designate with that within the sales order. So to move along, there is one more item on the new list that I'd like to show you, and this gives you the ability now to stage sales orders quickly. Off the main menu in sales order, I can select stage sales orders. Now what this does is it looks at the settings, and pardon me, I'm going to pull up options real quick. And we have this new option down here, stage sales orders. And this also works with license plate and packing shipments. So what I can do is I can select a sales order. Doesn't help if I'm sitting in the order. That was order 198. So just by selecting the sales order, what it's doing is it's looking at that option that I just showed you a second ago and saying, look, to stage goods, I'm going to put goods into my shipping staging location. Now, when you're using the Scanco handheld, you can scan the goods and do this also. But we also have another option too. Even if you stage goods, you can move the inventory and the allocation to the orders again and again and again. So perhaps you take it into invoicing, and then you want to put it onto a truck, and we give you that feature. And we try to make this as fast as possible, and so please follow me here. In this case, I selected the order, and these are the allocations out of the different bin locations, and automated the quantity picked, and you can override that and so on. But note how it's designating the ship to or the transfer bin location as the shipping. All I have to do is hit proceed, and it went ahead and moved that inventory. And I'll just pull that order back up. And now you can see it's all in the shipping dock. If I were to pull up my shipping bin location, now you can see all the inventory is in the shipping bin location along with how it's allocated. Note the net quantity available is 0. You can click on the allocations and you can see which order that's allocated to. So just like that, I was able to move that order to the shipping dock. So in this case, I'm just going to hit cancel. And that was order 198. And so what I'm going to do now is ship that order. And since all the goods are pre-allocated, a nice feature that we do is we move that inventory or those allocations right into shipping or invoice data entry for you. Note how it's all quantity shipped is pulled in there. Of course, you can go in here and override it for exceptions and so on. But I did want to invoice it, and that was order 198. And so now I'm going to come back in here. And so you can see now it's an invoice data entry. And what I can do over here, I can select a truck. I can choose the location type. You don't have to do this, but I'll call it staging, just to make it nice. And then up here I can hit apply, and note that it went through all the lines for me and it selected the destination location. And all I need to do is hit proceed, and now I move that invoice into the truck. Some businesses like to track it, most businesses don't, honestly. But we now give you that feature to track that, and more you're going to see Scanco work with these features. So another new feature that we have relates to license plate. And I wanted to just take a couple minutes here to talk about that, and I'll get Devin on the line, I promise. So I did want to pull up, let's see, a single item here and just show how we can track full license plate pallets in your inventory. You can receive the goods into each pallet and automatically ship those goods and so on. So here you're seeing various pallets over here. On the left-hand side, you can see how we give a summary of that. We have a breakdown of other information of where my inventory is also broken out into. You can spread this out more. By having pallets, you can drill down, you can do print pallet tag reports, you can have only same item pallets or mixed item pallets, and so on. So during receipt of goods, one way of using license plates is to put your goods into a pallet as you receive them. For example, here, as I receive this lot item here, I can choose to do a next pallet ID number and then put a lot number here and so on. And now that lot number is now in this pallet. This is a serialized item, and I could do the same as I receive serialized goods. Perhaps what I'll do is I could put this in the same pallet that I just created, and so starting serial number, and actually I'll make this, those that use serial items, whoops, I wanted to select that one pallet that I just created right here. So now here I'm receiving this serialized item into this pallet, and this gives me the ability to group all the inventory into this pallet ID and move it around. What we do is we keep track of the package type throughout the system. So whether or not you're going to select the inventory by, let's say, the ID number, or whether or not it's a pallet, or a case pack, you can select the inventory in either way by the ID number or the package type that you have. But you always have visibility of your inventory in packaging. So what I'm going to do right now here is I'll switch it over to Devin so that he can continue discussions on pallet handling, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more on other features. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron. Excellent. So all the stuff that Ron was showing, and everything with the pallet, all the pallet tracking and the views that you get on the back end with ACS is a great complement to what Scanco Enterprise is offering, in the ability to simplify the process and be able to give the warehouse users a look at creating pallets as well as transferring the pallets in between locations. And I'll show you quickly how that works through the Pallet Assembly. When we're inside of the Scanco Warehouse, you can select an existing pallet number. We can look up in the system and see which ones are available. We can also go to the bottom and have the system automatically determine the next pallet number and assign that. And then that point, it'll allow us to go through the rest of the process of selecting the warehouse, then sending it to a bin location. And now it's going to allow us to select the items. So I'll do and go back into lookup again and put an item here to allocate to the pallet. And now it's going to show me the information as to the pallet number, the warehouse it's in, the bin location that we're moving it to, the item, the description, and it's also going to allow us to select the bin location that this one is coming from. And finally, we'll enter the quantity. It's going to write that collected data and then we're able to complete assembling that pallet and then send it back into Sage 100, where we're then able to, it will show up in the ACS system and as well give you a higher level detail. But the key here is that from the handheld level, you're easily able to add items to the pallet and also be able to transfer them between locations. If we select the pallet number that we just created, and here it'll give us our bin from and our bin to. We can again select a bin location for this to move. And then it's done. So we just moved that entire pallet that we created inside of Scanco Enterprise. So we'll hit yes, and then it will send that back to the server. So from that point, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other features that we integrate with ACS as well, and kind of give to complement what Ron was talking about. And one of those is in the staging locations that Ron was discussing before. Those can be determined and can be edited inside of the system with ACS, and it allows, in regards to directed picking with ACS, it allows our confirm pick to follow the allocated locations that are already set up inside of the order. And when we go into our shipping, the picking, you're able to see the option to do confirm picks. And now I'm not going to go into that there, but with the bin locations that are pre-allocated, we can use confirm picks, and then it's simply going to complete that order. So now I'm going to go into the directed shipping. Actually, we'll go ahead and do order picking first. And this allows us to guide based on the bin location, and it is able to allocate based on the chosen bin location to be picked from the sales order. So we can select the warehouse, then we choose the sales order, okay, we're going to do a lookup. I wanted to highlight and let everyone know that throughout this process that the barcoding will allow you to scan in each of these items so that you, because you see that I'm keying some of these in, that you can scan these with the barcode and they come through much faster. So on the order picking side, again, we're able to guide based on the bin location and allocate from the chosen bin. So here it's telling us what item to scan. I've entered in a sales order number. It's prompted me, I've already entered in the warehouse, and now it's telling me to scan the item that appears on the screen. So now from this point, I can enter in, go ahead and scan in that item. And now what it's going to do is it's going to tell me the quantity ordered, and it's going to show me the quantity versus picked. So now I can enter that, and now it's going to proceed to the next bin location. And you'll see at the top that it's asking me for bin B20L. And of course I can go through, and at any point I can skip to the next bin. I can choose the next item in the next bin. I can also do the same item in the next bin. So as these locations and what Ron was talking about, having everything lined up and having all of that detail as to where the bins are located, all of that can change and be dynamic based on how your warehouse is configured. And so once this is completed, then this allocates them, and then we can send from invoice data entry or shipping data entry. So I'll go ahead and post this. Now, once I go inside of shipping data entry, I'll be able to select the same sales order and then complete the shipping process. And with the package level detail, I kind of went over it quickly, but you can see there that we have the ability to tell the system what box we're picking into and we're shipping out of, and all that information. So that way, when you're integrating it with the with any shipping programs, it's going to tell Sage where everything is located inside. So now we can go in and do the lookup on the system and see that item that has been unshipped has already been placed in the staging location. And again, we'll follow the same conventions that are inside of what has already been set. So we'll select a bin that has quantity available. And then this is going to complete that order. Once we send it into Sage, then it will be set up as shipped. Okay, so now we reviewed the pick and pack and the order picking process, which is the two-step process of doing the pick and pack process. Inside of our picking, we can also ship picked, which allows us to automatically create the shipping data entry. And going inside of picking our order, and so what it's going to do when we go to this level is it's going to give us an opportunity to review the order, or we can simply just submit to ship. And once we do that, it gets rid of the that extra step of the process that we went through before without that validation. So this would be good in opportunities where you're interested in collecting the package level detail without having to go through shipping data entry again through the handheld, and allows them to ship that order. Now, a few of the other features we have, we talked about confirm picks, directed shipping, and also the pick and pack process. There's a few other features that we're very excited about with Scanco Enterprise, and one of those being the dashboard functionality. And inside of the new dashboard that we've designed, you can see that there is the ability to see the purchase orders that are currently open in the system, and this is through a separate application that runs alongside Sage 100, allowing you to see all of the orders that are currently available. In addition, we're able to see the history of picked items, see the history of what's been done in the warehouse, and this gives the warehouse manager insight into transactions, as well as messages that can notify the user to ship any particular sales orders. So they're able to go in and select different items to be sent, and this will show up on the user's handhelds just on the screen that I was showing you before, and tells them to go pick certain items in the warehouse. So one of the other things that is available and is a part of the package with Scanco Enterprise is our bill of materials production entry. Inside of production entry, it gives the users the ability to handle light manufacturing processes on the handheld by entering the items directly into production entry. As they scan the components from the handheld, they are entered into production entry, and allows them to complete that part of the process. We also have the functionality to be able to receive RMA. That allows them to receive those items into the RMA module, and just makes it easier on behalf of returns. A lot of our customers say that that's something in part of their warehouse process that could be automated, and also helps them a lot with that. In the event of updates, because that happens, updates that allow more functionality to be added to Scanco Enterprise, as well as new features that are added. We have the ability to see real-time inventory with the auto posting feature. Auto post will, as the transactions are being completed in the warehouse, go into Sage 100 and then give them that level of view, as well as the automatic posting, again, like I mentioned, with select transactions. And the dashboard, which I already gave you a glimpse into, gives you the ability to assign orders to users, see that history of picked items, give warehouse manager the insights into the transactions, and again, allow the notifications and the messaging features. And just in a quick summary, I wanted to show you that one of the things is our big part of our offering is being able to pair this new robust software with devices that don't break the bank. We're very excited about a new TC70 scanner that comes with a pistol grip that allows the users a very rugged warehouse application and doesn't sacrifice the quality of some of the older traditional scanners that may cost up to twice as more. And just to give you an idea, I know we have some, probably want to do some Q&A, and I wasn't sure if Ron wanted to speak as well.
Thank you very much, Devin. I just wanted to touch on the new lot serial inquiry for traceability. I pulled up a raw material here, but if you ever worked with me before, I work with pizza a lot. And so you might have a raw material like yeast, and you can see here right on the screen, I'm showing trace history of, a lot of manufacturers want to track raw materials through finished goods, and then for finished goods to know all the lot serial numbers that make up the finished good. And so what we've done is we've improved the screen here. So for your existing inventory, you can switch between the trace and the what issued right here on the screen. What historically was a report, now you can view this on the screen. And then right using the Sage lot serial inquiry, let's see here. Okay, so if I can now use the lot serial inquiry to search for recalls on raw materials or finished goods or any kind of lookup on lot serial, and this is forever. We keep this information forever. So I can put the lot serial number in here, in this case that I'm looking up on. You see on the right-hand side the normal Sage trace audit trail. But on the left-hand side, you see this trace. So we're given the what issued and the trace features here on the left-hand side. You can see here that this is showing that my raw material went into dough, dough went into pizza, and now right away you know all the raw materials and finished goods and sub-assemblies that the raw material went into. Now what we've done is we've made it so that you can select anything from the left-hand side, and down at the bottom you have a selection of what you've done. This gives you a drill down on other information that you may have stored for the lot serial item forever. So if you never, if you want to track anything, many do. And then this is the print feature, the print on the fly, and this gives you the report card that we've always provided for the traceability and the what issued report. In this case, I'm doing a traceability report. This is the same trace of the raw material going to subassembly and then the finished good, and then who I sold that finished good to. And note that when I do this selection here on the screen, I can click on any one of these items here, hit select. It'll switch my view to whatever I selected. On the right-hand side here, you can see those items I just sold to. Now this is the what issued. This is looking at my finished good, and you can see all the lot serial items that made up that, and including the subassembly. So you have the, in the finished good, you had some components, the subassembly, components to that, subassembly, and so on. And this is a quick way. And then if I were to print, then you'll get the what issued report side of things. I thank you for letting me do that. Devin, can I switch back to you?
We'll go ahead and go to Adrian for the Q&A.
Adrian, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron, and thank you, Devin.
Am I switching to you, Adrian?
Yes, I am here. Hopefully you can hear me. We do have a couple questions here. I'd like to announce we have a couple polls too. I'd like to ask the audience, thank you so much for hanging in there with us for almost the entire hour here. We really appreciate your time. We know it's hard to come by. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll here. So are you interested in learning more about Scanco's Enterprise Warehouse Management Suite? If you can, just take a moment to answer that while I announce these questions. We have a question from Renee. Thank you, Renee. Do you have to use lot serial inventory valuation to use trace?
Yes. Sorry, but the answer is yes.
Okay, perfect. And Kevin, thank you so much for your question. I'm thinking the features that Ron is showing is for Sage 100 ERP 2014?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
All for the most current versions for both of our systems, yes.
And can we use lot number for FIFO?
Yes, absolutely. We give the ability to use automatic allocations, I know that's a big word, by lot serial numbers and the lot receipt date. So it doesn't matter what you put into the system for a lot number, the system will always know the oldest one. There's another one I didn't talk about, and that's the expire date, and you can also do it by when goods expire too.
And this question is for you, Ron. Thank you, Terry, for the question. Ron, allocations and pick has transacted, but the customer has called to cancel the order. Please demonstrate the put back scenario. Should we table that and then just get in touch directly with Terry and show that, or do you think that we should show that right now?
I could tell you that there's a hyperlink right on the header of the sales order. You can click that and clear all the allocations for the entire sales order just like within a second.
Perfect.
And happy to discuss later, no problem.
Perfect. Terry, we will also be sending out a follow-up email, just if everybody could note, we're sending out a follow-up email complete with Ron's contact information and Devin's contact information. So should you have any questions that you think about later that you want to reach out to either of them, they would love to talk to you further. We have another question here. What is the price between warehouse and enterprise? Thank you, Ron.
Is that question for me?
It depends on what.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's probably us. It depends on what you own and what the features are of the two. So not the enterprise solution, but the other solution. So that would be another thing we could talk about offline.
Perfect. And then, did you record this webinar so my staff can watch it later? Paula, yes, we are recording this, and I'm going to send everybody who registered for the webinar the recording, so all the attendees and the registrants. So we will get that to you probably by the end of the day. Will you get more info about the bill of materials part? Thank you, James. Is that enough of
Yes, we can send some more information. What was that?
Go ahead, Devin.
A request for more information on bill of materials, we can definitely accommodate that. I would say we should reach out direct so that we can talk about it more at length.
And James, this question will be aligned to your name on the registration report, so Devin will give you a call directly about that. Is the format to pick from finished goods the same as goods for production? Thank you, Scott.
Yes.
Okay.
And does the location replenishment feature need some sort of initiation? Thank you, Peter.
Yes, there is setup that is easy to do, that you can put in the minimums and maximum replenishment points. If you don't put in a maximum, system will rely on the capacity of the location. So yes, I showed that screen briefly, but I didn't talk about it. Sorry.
And I do have another poll up. If I could just ask the audience to answer this one last poll. Are you interested in learning more about ACS Multibin, WMS? Just take a moment to answer that poll. We greatly appreciate it. And let's see here. What is the difference between Linea Pro and Symbol TC70? Thank you, Carlos. And Devin, I think that one's for you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
What's the difference between Linea Pro and Symbol T70, the different handhelds?
Good question. The Linea Pro device is a scan sled that attaches to an Apple phone or an iPod. The TC70 or the TC55 are what's called an integrated smartphone. It has a barcode scanner inside of it that is one part of the unit. So they can be used both as phones and as warehouse management devices, but that explains the difference in the price point is that the other ones are an integrated smartphone as well as a barcode scanner, while the Linea Pro is just simply the scan sled that attaches to the other device.
And Joyce, thank you for this question. How can I get more info and a user manual for the dashboard add-on?
That would be another thing we can get with you directly.
Perfect. And Joyce, we will be able to tell that you asked that question, so we'll specifically call you back with the answer. Is there a portal that customers can have access to that allows them to view their inventory? Thank you, Julie.
Not that I can think of, other than what's inside of Sage. The dashboard functionality, if that was part of your question, the dashboard functionality is to give them a view of the orders and things that are being done inside of the warehouse, not for the actual items themselves.
And we have another question from Ivan. Ivan, thank you. Hi, we have trouble invoicing the main kit item number from the scanners because this item actually doesn't have inventory. The components in the kit shipped correctly, but the main kit item number does not ship from the handheld. The kit number gets back ordered. This is causing the warehouse clerk to override manually from shipping data entry. Do you have a good solution for this issue?
This is a known modification, and we're actually working on making that update to our software now.
And then Scott, thank you for your question. How does the picking sheet work with work orders?
We provide a directed picking. We provide two pick sheet templates along with the system. One to print allocations that you have associated to a work order, and one to print the available inventory. So you can select the work order number, and it will refer to what you've allocated in a batch in transaction entry, and you'll print those allocations on there too. We are working on a directed version of that pick sheet. Currently, it's sorted by line item on the work order.
And thank you, Terry, for your question. Scanco order picking screen item scanning include alias UPCs. I think that might be a continuation from the other question. So, Terry, we're going to go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. If using...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Devin.
I was going to say, yes, that is something that's included in with that process.
Perfect. If using automatic primary bins, what happens if you put items away in different locations after every receipt? Does it populate second and third primary locations for the item?
If you want to, and if that's the case, then you would, in the setup of the bin location, you would call it a primary one. If you don't call it a primary one, then the system still keeps track of it, and then you have in the setup how you want to allocate in which order. You can do it in FIFO and other algorithms.
And do you have a wrist scanner option for an iOS device? Thank you, John.
We do, and they're based on the fact that they're Bluetooth enabled. Those types of scanners do work with the devices that have, because we're cross-platform, the Android, Windows, and iOS devices, they all work with one form or another of Bluetooth scanner.
And do you have the ability to track inventory in water, container management?
I could.
We definitely have to discuss.
Go ahead. You can track containers and on the water in the system, sometimes using another warehouse code for on the water, and then containers can be tracked specifically in the system, to, much like I showed how you can have pallets in your inventory, just a container number. We're doing more and more on this, and we'll discuss more of this in the mid-year.
And what if a customer is on a previous version to Sage 100 ERP 2014? Will this functionality work?
Was that? I don't know if that was for me, but we work on all versions of Sage 100. I don't know if that answers the question.
Perfect. Okay, so let me. It looks like we don't have it.
And
oh, go ahead, Devin.
We work on all versions 4.4 and up, but we, yeah.
And I'm just going to share the results.
The only reason I held back is that some of the features are 13 and 14, but again, a case-by-case basis would be best to evaluate anyway. So.
Perfect. And I'm going ahead and sharing the results of our last poll. Are you interested in learning more about ACS, Multibin, WMS? It looks like 68% of you are interested in learning more. And we really just once again appreciate your interest in this topic and spending this time with us and hanging in there with that one hiatus that we took with Devin. We really appreciate you just attending our webinars, and we hope to see you next time. Devin and Ron, would you like to close with any further comments?
Go ahead, Devin. You can start.
Well, I just wanted to say that we're very excited about the new Scanco Enterprise, and I would definitely encourage anyone who had any little bit of interest to reach out to us so that we can get on the phone with you and show you through the software a little more comprehensively. I breezed through a lot of transactions, and there's just so much stuff to do with the Enterprise version that it's difficult to show over a webinar, so please let us know, and we look forward to everyone's businesses thriving in 2015.
Thank you.
Here, and I agree. I agree with everything Devin said. Thank you very much for coming today.
All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.